back to another episode of the Retro Release Podcast, the podcast where we go through a game's development from conceptualization all the way up to release and post-release. And this week, I'm joined again by...
Mikey T.
Mikey T. Are you going for a different moniker this week?
Every single time.
How many different names for Michael can you have, though? You got Michael?
Mickey.
Michael.
Mike.
I just said Michael and then Michael
I was
again.
going to say.
Well, if your boss from work has anything to say about it, you spell Michael, but you switch the A and the E around.
Michael. Michael.
Mikhail.
Mikhail, yeah.
Yeah, you got Michael, Mike, Mikey, Mickey,
Mickey.
Moose. That's if you were in Top Gun.
I used to have Mickey CT on like usernames and
Oh
stuff.
yeah, Mickey CT.
But,
Mike. I think that's probably as good as you can get. There's like those 3 or 4, isn't there?
Probably.
Yeah. There's not really anything else you can. I've got
Mick.
Will, William, Willie, Bill, Billy, Liam. Well, you might not.
It says Liam.
But yeah, but think about it, because Liam is just the end of Will. You can split William into Will and Liam. But Liam's sort of its own name, which makes no sense. Anyway, that's us, Michael and Will, on the Retro Release Podcast. I'm just going to keep saying the name every 5 minutes so people don't forget. No, you'll see it on your phones. It's fine. But this week is probably our first bad game, because I think up to now we've basically done good games, ones that have been relatively well received or were revolutionary or have interesting stories because they're good. Now, this one is really bad, like really bad. And it's Sonic 2006, or as it's actually known, just Sonic the Hedgehog, because it's meant to be a reboot, and then it turned out it was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, good times. But before we get into that, I thought I'd just have a quick back and forth between us on what we've been playing. So, what have you been playing recently, Michael? Well, I know what you have been playing. But...
Well, yeah, because I've been playing it for like 2 hours straight.
Every day.
Well, I mean, what came today was meant to get released tomorrow, but it came today. It was FIFA 20. So I was like, right, stick that straight in the Xbox.
Wait, you got it a day early?
Yeah.
Oh, that happens sometimes with Amazon deliveries, though, doesn't it?
It does sometimes, but managed to get it a day early, and then...
Have you been playing that, then?
Yeah.
Oh, because...
I've been playing the new one.
Yeah.
It's all right. I think there is generally an improvement on FIFA 19. I enjoyed FIFA 19, and I'm glad that they've done some more stuff. Obviously, the biggest change is the Vault of Football, which is kind of like FIFA Street, basically.
Oh, yeah, they've included what... I saw a lot of articles about that where they say...
But,
is it like in a little FIFA Street style?
Pretty much, yeah.
With like the greats and stuff, because we had that on the original Xbox. I love FIFA Street.
That.
I was never that good at FIFA, but I did like FIFA Street. Cause
FIFA Street is fun.
It's a bit more fast-paced in it, because you can go up and down the field like... It's
a lot more
really
precise
quick.
as well.
Yeah, and it's all about tricks.
But I think in further iterations of FIFA, they need to do more with career mode, because that's what I play most. They just need to do more exciting stuff.
Yeah, you don't do like Ultimate Team that much, do you?
I did it towards the end of the last one just because I did career mode to death. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I only ever really play FIFA for kickoff mode, which is when you play it with your mates and you're just like, let's just have a quick game.
Yeah, it is fun like that. It is fun.
So apart from that, I was gonna say, what have you been playing? But it's basically just FIFA 19 before today, isn't it?
Yeah.
Recently.
And I have been playing World of Warships.
Yeah. Every time I come in, you're like, I'm like, what you doing? It's like World of Warships.
World of Warships,
which is, for anybody that doesn't know, it's like World of Tanks but with battleships.
Yeah.
It's like you take.
I really enjoy it.
It's a team based. Is it 5-on-5?
It depends how many people are in there. I think it can be anywhere from like 6 to about 10 or 12.
Ooh. So it's like a team based game with like different modes, like your team death matches or your dominations or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're in different types of warships, and they're like your classes and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So basically, you have classes for different types of warships. So you have your destroyers, your cruisers, and your battleships. Destroyers are quite small and fast. Cruisers are like just medium-sized ships. Often have like torpedoes and stuff on them. And then you have your battleships, where you shoot your big gun type ones. Also, you do have some aircraft carriers. And then the kind of each ship type gets ranked, depending on basically how advanced it is. So you have ones from like World War One or just before, all the way to like the early Cold War type.
Oh,
ships.
Is that roughly where it goes up to? It's not like modern ships.
Nah, I think that would be too.
Yeah, I suppose because in World of Tanks you don't have like futuristic tanks, do you, or anything?
Yeah, don't have ones that go like 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, a tank that's like faster than like some old sports cars.
Exactly.
Which was really weird considering they're on like the tracks, aren't they? How they can go so fast.
Yeah.
Because that's what you wouldn't feel like you need a tank to be fast. Like a warship, yeah, because it's massive. You need it to like actually move.
And I guess the reason why you want tanks to move fast is because if they're not, they're just basically a sitting target for other tanks.
Yeah, and if they can move fast, they can reposition quick.
Yeah, exactly.
And they can do, lots of different things.
Yeah. Welcome to the Modern History Podcast.
Where we just talk about World of Warships. The World of Warships podcast.
Yeah.
On this episode, we talk about I was going to try and name a ship, but I can't even think of one. The USS...
Iowa.
I was going to say USS ship.
USS ship.
Iowa is the
USSS hip.
Ah, very funny. So it's not spoonerism, is it? That's just taking words apart.
Yeah.
It's not a spoonerism. A spoonerism for USS warship would be ship. No.
Mate, this is gibberish. What are you talking about?
It is late. I think we should note that it is like, what time now? Like 9:10.
Yeah.
UK time, because that's where we record in the UK. We don't go to America every time we record the podcast. GMT. I always think of MGMT when is that what the band MGMT get the name from? Is it?
I'd probably say no, but it might be.
Because there's an M at the beginning, but yeah. Greenwich Mean Time. There's no need to be mean. Greenwich Nice Time. GNT.
TMNT.
TMNT time. That's the time zone that New York's in.
Yeah, exactly.
And the clock's a giant pizza.
Fucking hell.
Anyway, right, so Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. Now, we're on the intro segment of the podcast, so I'll do what I usually do, which is start with Wikipedia, the jumping off point for all information that's ever been corresponded ever about anything. So, the Wikipedia sort of entry, the bit at the beginning, when you go on Wikipedia and before it actually says anything, you've got the bit that's usually like next to a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
a very quick summary.
It's a very quick summary of this, and this is what it says about the game. It says, Sonic the Hedgehog, commonly referred to as Sonic 06, is a 2006 platform game developed by Sonic Team and published by Sega. It was produced in commemoration of the Sonic series' 15th anniversary and intended as a reboot for the 7th generation video game consoles. Players control Sonic. That's because it says here players control Sonic, Shadow, and a new character Silver. But as I was reading it,
Sean Connery fan wrote that.
Yeah, I read the word Shadow before I read Sonic, so I just said Sonic. That's like the fusion of the two characters. He's fast, edgy, and cool. That's just Shadow, actually, isn't it? But they battle Solaris, an ancient evil pursued by Dr. Eggman. Each playable character has his own campaign and abilities and must complete levels, explore hub worlds, fight bosses, and there's a multiplayer mode where you can collect Chaos Emeralds and get to the end of a level, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, that's basically it. And that thing where it says you battle Solaris, it's like Solar IS.
Yeah.
I no idea who that is. Even throughout the rest of I think I can visualize him. He's like a hedgehog, but he looks old and really like he looks weird. He looks like someone's Sonic OC character. This is Solaris. He has a cowboy belt and guns. But I was looking at that, and it says you can play Sonic, Shadow, and Silver, and the first game that you could play as Shadow in, I think. No, it wasn't. It was Sonic Adventure 2, but the first game we played, which had Shadow in, was Shadow the Hedgehog, which is one where Shadow has guns.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought that was such a fun game, though, as well.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I remember I've replayed it. It doesn't hold up very well, but it is good. It's the thing where Shadow, sometimes in a lot of the levels, he can like ride bikes and drive cars, and it's like, but you're meant to be really fast. Why can you drive a vehicle?
That's true, exactly.
But what was the bit from Shadow the Hedgehog? There's a meme that we always quote for Shadow the Hedgehog. It's the one where the evil demon guy that comes from space or whatever just goes, oh no.
Let's not say that on it. Let's not say that one.
I think I won't say it, but I'll just say, if you want to look it up, look up Shadow the Hedgehog You can't say.
Get out of my sight. Just look that bit up.
Yeah, and you'll definitely hear it.
It's the bit before that.
Yeah, it's three words before that. Like it does it when he finishes the level. You know, like where Sonic would finish the level and he's like, "That was average," or "Could have done better next time." But Shadows is like some mildly racist.
Yeah, it seems very pointed to specific people. Like
it seems like
it's not great.
I mean, they call them black aliens.
Yeah.
Which is like, they're not even black, they're like light grey and red as well. It's like,
whoa.
And then there's also, I don't think there's any black people in the game, there's just white soldiers to fight the black aliens. It's like, this might have a different message.
Set up to the upcoming race war the producers wanted.
He's like, can we not call them that? No, we've got to call them that because you know what's happening, don't you? He's like, what? The race wars? He's like, no. It's like, that was like, if it was going to be any time, it was like the 60s. Like, no, they're still going on now. It's weird, isn't it?
It's just a bizarre little bit that just seems
out of place.
Like, it really makes you a bit uncomfortable when you hear it.
Like when we were younger, we didn't think anything of it, but now we sort of say a lot of it as jokes, but we say it as jokes because it's uncomfortably weird. It's like inappropriate. It's like, why are you talking about the aliens like that? It's just weird. Just call them aliens.
It's just the emphasizing the black. That's
the
bit all the time.
Like the Key and Peele sketch where they do the thing about black ice.
Yeah.
Or Black Falcon.
Yes. Yeah. Black Falcon.
But they can get away with it because they are black.
Yeah.
And it's kind of geared towards that, and it's meant to be a joke, while here it's just, or in Shadow the Hedgehog, it takes itself way too seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, Sonic co-creator Yuji Naka was behind Sonic 06, hoping for the game to capitalise on the successful formula of recent superhero films like Batman Begins and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, with the game going for a more realistic tone and style. And I've put in brackets here in full caps, problem number 1. That's where the first issue arises. However, Naka left Sega during this time to form his own company, Prope. P-R-O-P-E. That sounds oddly sexually inappropriate, doesn't it?
Well, it's because it sounds like probe.
It does. Yeah, it's like they've taken the B of probe and just flipped it and gone, that's our name.
Exactly.
Like when you see the Pepsi upside down and it says "is dead."
Jesus Christ!
Do you not remember when
I've never thought about that before.
Have you not?
Did
you not see the after episode 7 came out, spoilers for Star Wars episode 7, where it had a Pepsi can upside down and it said something upside down, and when you flipped it, it said Han Solo is dead, and the Pepsi can said is dead.
Bloody hell!
But it was like the whole thing was flipped, so it just sort of like Pepsi and then upside down letters. Yeah, good times. So he left to form his own company, known for such great games as Street Pass Mansion, Street Pass Fishing, and Ivy the Kiwi. The website for SonicRetro.com says, fate would not be on the side of Sonic Team immediately after mentioning Naka's departure. Now, I love that. He formed a different company to make Street Pass games, which is the function of the 3DS where you walk past people and you get points if they had a 3DS that was also switched on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just...
That sounds awful.
Spoilers? It was.
Yeah.
Some people liked it, but I think, generally speaking, just because something's portable doesn't mean you have to shove down the throat of you being around people that have it. It's a bit like... It's not like when you walk past somebody who also has an Apple Watch. It's like, you walk somebody who's also got an Apple.
Yeah.
Sonic and the Secret Rings, which is problem number 2, because both of those games are shit.
You think at least one would be alright?
No, that's the thing. You split the team in 2 to make 2 crap games. It's like, if you put them in one team, maybe we'd have one average game.
Or maybe just one super crap game.
That would have been better.
It's a gamble, definitely.
It's a massive gamble.
I feel like it's not going to be, the 2 negatives go together to make a positive type thing.
It's not actual maths.
It's not. Yeah, it's just
It's like if a shit music producer and a shit artist came together to make a piece of music, it wouldn't be good. It would just be
shit.
Really shit. Yeah. But yeah, so we've had 2 problems there already. They're going for a realistic tone and style because of superhero movies, and the dev team was split in 2, which isn't really a good start. And I just don't think Sonic suits realism and gritty tone. Like comic books
Yeah,
got away with
not
it,
at all.
but Sonic, it's like he's a blue hedgehog, and you might say Spider-Man's a guy in a suit, but it's like, yeah, but he's also lives in New York City, and he's a real guy, and he has real problems.
Yeah,
but
he's
Sonic,
he's a photojournalist, isn't
yeah,
he?
but Sonic is a blue hedgehog that runs fast to get emeralds from a guy who traps little cute animals in robots.
Exactly.
There's nothing there. You can't put Jim Carrey in there and hope that he's
Yeah.
good, or change the way Sonic looks. Oh, now we're talking about the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. We're gonna have to review that when it comes out as well.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
we're
definitely.
gonna have to do Cats and Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Cats.
The movie will probably end up being better than
this game.
this
But yeah,
game.
100%. I would say even.
I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it because it's gonna be bad, but it's not gonna be bad as in it is just not gonna be a good movie. It's gonna be bad because they're not gonna understand how to make a Sonic movie. But I think because it'll be that type of bad, it'll be entertaining whatever way you look at it.
Yeah.
But I guess we can only. When does it come out? Is it early next year, innit? Because they had to push it back. Because
Around then, yeah, because we're gonna.
it was meant to be like
selling
now,
it.
wasn't it? Not like September, October, November, wasn't
It
it?
might have been.
Yeah, and then they pushed it back because they wanted him to make him look more like original Sonic. But I was looking at this before we got into the conceptualization and development. I was looking at the Sonic the Hedgehog wiki, and what it does is, you know, sometimes when on Wikipedia and on wikis when something is a translation of something, it'll give you. So it says Sonic the Hedgehog, and then it has in bold how it's written in Japanese. Like, and we can't read it because it's in Japanese. It's just like Japanese font. But then after that, it sort of translates, and I'm not sure if this is a joke, but it translates what I think it would sound like if you were saying it in a Japanese accent. It says Soniku za Hedgehogu. Like it says
that's weird.
It's SONIKKU ZAHEJJHOGGU.
As
like,
someone trying to go for the phonetics, like
phonetic spelling. If you were saying in English Sonic the Hedgehog in a Japanese accent, like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Exactly.
Oh no, it sounds even worse because I do it sometimes when you pretend to be Japanese and you always put at the end of words.
Yeah.
It sounds like they've just done that, but they've said Sonic was
some weaver's gone.
Yeah. And I'm like, this can't be real because it doesn't sound right. It's just like, what do you mean, Sonic who's a hedgehog? It's like, that just sounds like you're being blatantly like inappropriate.
Yeah, I mean, if it is actually the way you say it in the Japanese, then we're being really terrible people at the moment. But you know,
it just sounds like so much of a meme that it can't be real.
Yeah.
But if anybody listening speaks Japanese, feel free to either call us offensive, wrong, or I don't know, mean.
I mean, we could be right.
We could be right, but what are the odds of that?
I have a sneaky suspicion that we're not, though.
I have a sneaky suspicion Michael lying down on the bed speaking into a microphone is not correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, your head's on a pillow, isn't it?
Well, it's the comfiest position I could have it in.
Yeah, you're basically as close to the microphone as you can get.
Pretty much.
And it works. It works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's comfy for me.
Yeah, well, that's the main thing, isn't it? You don't
Exactly.
want to be sat there for an hour uncomfortable, or however long this is. They're about an hour. But so we're on to the conceptualization and development. So after finishing their previous game, Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg, Sonic Team began work on Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. Yuji Naka wanted to release the game on 6th generation consoles, which is like PS2, original Xbox, that kind of thing, but decided to wait for the 7th generation of consoles as this would coincide with Sonic's 15th anniversary. So it's just an even more of a clusterfuck at that point. Let's wait for the better hardware to make a worse game.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg, by the way?
I haven't.
I heard of it on YouTube. It's like a 3D platformer with this guy, and he has a giant egg, and he rolls it around, and you can like fire it at people, and it has different abilities. You can like make you bounce. See, from what I've seen, it seems like a decent platformer for like early 2000s, like an interesting idea. Maybe they should have just made another one of those instead of Sonic, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Just make something that's like interesting instead of just.
It'd probably be a lot more obscure, which is.
Yeah.
I mean, if it ended up being bad, it'd be better for them.
It's like obscurity. Have you watched Sony's most recent State of Play, which is like their version of a Nintendo Direct? It's the one where
I've not watched it, but I've seen like some articles about mentioning it.
So the one that had The Last of Us, and it's given The Last of Us Day, which is early next year. Last of Us Part 2. There's this one called Humanity, which is really weird. It's like, did you ever play Lemmings? it was like you've probably played a game similar to it, made by a British developer. It's pulled out camera, and these little lemmings dudes who are little dudes in like blue shirts with like green hair, and you have to either obstruct or destroy the landscape as they walk from left to right to get them to the goal. I'm trying to think if there's anything you've played that's like it.
Oh my god, that's after they've taken that from the idea of, have you seen the video of when Disney made loads of lemons fall off cliffs? And so basically what happened is Disney, the corporation, not the dude, were making this thing, and for some reason they thought, oh yeah, let's kind of make it out like lemmings. We're gonna they kind of almost like do a ritual suicide together and just launch themselves off cliffs, right? But actually what it was, so they filmed this and people are like, oh, they just killed themselves for some reason. Now what happens is Disney got people to force these cute little lemons off a cliff, and they just all died. That must be what they got the idea from.
Yeah, because that's the idea. You have to make sure that they don't. You have to destroy the path ahead of them to make sure they can get to the goal, but without them like falling and dying, sort of thing. That's got to be what it's based on.
Jesus
that's horrendous. But using the Havoc engine, the Havoc physics engine, which is used for Assassin's Creed and BioShock, so it doesn't really mean anything to us off the top of our heads, but basically they used a well-known physics engine for their game. The team were able to implement what they call global illumination, a night and day system, and give Sonic new abilities like the rope swing. So all of these things, they sound pretty interesting, don't they? So your night and day, rope swing, different lighting, but then none of that was actually in the final game. So the reason they used a certain engine, the reason they used the Havoc engine didn't make a difference because none of those things were in the final game. So maybe if they used a different engine, it would have actually worked and ran normally. Yeah. But alas, I just find it funny how they were promoting it. They said, it's going to have a night and day cycle. What's that going to do for Sonic?
Unless it's like an open world.
But it had like hub world levels, but it's not like open world. It's not like you accept quests and go in a different direction.
Yeah.
You go up to a guy and he's like, oh, Sonic, collect these rings, jump through these rings, Sonic. And then you get like, I don't know, speed shoes or whatever. Classic Sonic gameplay. Sonic needs trainers to run fast. Or sneakers for our American listeners.
Yeah.
Sneakers. But the looks of the game were also updated, with Sonic made taller with longer quills and Eggman being made slimmer. So I've said, less like an egg?
Right.
Yeah, but I've seen that from Sonic 06. He just looks like Eggman. Oh, wait, actually, thinking about it, this might have been the first game. Do you know the modern Sonic design?
Yeah.
Where he's got longer legs and the modern Eggman design where he's got really long legs as well. I think this is the first game that they were in. Maybe. Oh, no, Sonic Adventure 2 had those types of...
Yeah.
I think they just refined them a bit more to make them look more quote-unquote realistic, even though one of them is a guy with really skinny legs and then he's like a ball, and then one of them's a small blue hedgehog, because what you want from them is you want them to look realistic, don't you? Sonic the Hedgehog's just like a tiny little hedgehog, but he just happens to be blue. He just rolls around everywhere really slowly.
Some chav spray painted.
Chav, for the international listeners, is like a shit gangster.
Yeah, basically. You wear tracksuits and hang around shops.
And they speak like this way. You've been deviled. Get him. Yeah. Get wrecked. That kind of like really annoying voice. A bit like Sonic's voice, I suppose. They're both annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, but Sonic's not a chav. Or is he?
Could be.
Could be. With those shoes. Shoes and gloves. All he needs now is like a bandana or like a beanie. And to have like 5 of his teeth missing.
5 of his teeth missing, yeah. Not sure about a bandana or a beanie. Bandana, maybe. Have it around your neck, and then when you get in a fight or something,
lift it above your nose.
Yeah, exactly.
But your shank's just like a screwdriver.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like a butter knife you nicked from your mum.
Oi, mate, you got a license for that knife?
Little butter knife. You could even... Could you actually stab someone with a butter knife? Like, you could stab them.
Yeah, you definitely could stab someone.
Would you, like, do serious damage with a butter knife?
I mean, I think stabbing anyone... Like... I mean, butter knives are still quite long, so if you got it all the way in...
Yeah, true. If you like really went for it, if you dug it in and swiveled it around
Exactly.
a bit.
It depends exactly, what you do.
Yeah, if you really went for it. But Yuji Naka said that the sort of realistic designs of Sonic, his famous butter knife bandana combo, was used because they wanted him to be interacting with more humans. And if you've played Sonic 06, which I remember I have, there's like just humans that just look like they're obviously cartoons, but they just look normal.
Yeah.
Which is a bit jarring considering Eggman's meant to be a human and he just looks like an egg. And he's got a massive mustache, and then everybody else is normal. It's like, well, why is Eggman weird? Well, he is weird, but why does he look like a human and then the rest of them don't? Just really strange.
It's like the human Ken doll, except he decided to make himself look like an egg.
A human Ken doll that decided to make himself look like an egg. That's about.
Have you not seen the human Ken doll guy? He had implants for like his muscles and stuff.
I feel like I've definitely heard of it or seen a picture of him on a YouTube thumbnail, but I've never.
I'd be surprised if people haven't heard of him because it's such a weird.
He's like the clown man or the reptile lady or whatever.
Yeah.
Like the woman that had tattoos to look like a lizard.
Yeah.
She's like, on all levels except physical, I am a lizard. Well, a Giant Bomb article claims the question, what if Sonic the Hedgehog existed in the real world? And this might be true as a sort of point for what they decided to go for with the design and the design of the world, but it isn't supported by any source. But then again, I think just saying what if Sonic the Hedgehog existed in the real world isn't a question that anybody wants answering, which is why I think the Sonic the Hedgehog movie is going to fail first and foremost, because it's like, just make the whole thing animated, make him look like Sonic and just make it animated and just shows like Green Hill Zone and I don't know, all the other, like make him go through the different levels and have everything animated and have them all just look normal instead of doing like realistic, because it's just the
cash in at the moment of all these live action remakes of things, or just
no.
money. No thanks.
I'm doing the money grubbing, little rub your fingers together thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if the mic's picking up on that. Just can you hear that? All that green, all that good kush.
All that thick paper.
All that thick paper. That's just my sausage fingers. There's no paper in there. The team wanted to veer away from the side titles of like Sonic Heroes and Shadow the Hedgehog and bring the game back to its Genesis roots, going so far as to even include multiple paths in the levels. Now, by Genesis roots, I mean, like 2D Sonic.
Yeah.
Because that would have like multiple paths. Not like they would stray from each other massively, but you could just, because it's 2D, they'd have like paths on different levels, and you could like, if you jumped up high enough, if you went fast enough and went over a hill, you might land on a platform that's above, and you could use that and things like that. But it says they wanted to get away from Sonic Heroes, and I'm like, well, yeah, because that was, you had 3 characters at once. But then Shadow the Hedgehog, I'm thinking, from what we said before, I wonder why. Do you reckon it's the black aliens, the guns, and the driving cars that they weren't a fan of? After, on retrospect, they were like, this probably wasn't a good idea.
Yeah.
So let's just
I think he's fun. Yeah, for PR reasons.
Yeah, for...
Maybe not.
Simply for marketing the game, I don't think having a hedgehog that just has guns works. It's like, leave the gun games to people that make gun games. Don't make a Sonic the Hedgehog Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that. Nobody needs that. I mean, we played it and it was fun, but...
I want that. That is something I want.
I want Sonic, but with guns.
Exactly.
And Shadow being like, black creatures.
Oh, no, you've said it. You done gone said it, Will.
Well, they said it first.
They did?
Yeah.
But...
And I'm not saying it with really, weirdly strange undertones. I'm just saying it because it sounds funny. It's more in Shadow's voice, isn't it? Because Shadow speaks like this.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't care. Sonic, I don't like you. That's not what he says.
No,
Sonic, I don't like you.
That.
No. Well, he probably has. He said something along those lines, or he's like, I am the ultimate weapon. I think he's definitely said that. He's been like, because he thinks...
It sounds like the type of guy saying...
I'm the ultimate weapon. Starts flexing. Look at this weapon. Is that a phrase? Look at this weapon. Or is it like, look at this...
I don't know, but he's probably talking about his penis.
Well, if you Google it, I'm sure you'll find Sonic the Hedgehog characters doing unspeakable things.
Oh,
Of all the things that exist on the internet, I think that's like the most surefire thing.
Oh no.
If it exists.
What is it? Is it called DeviantArt?
DeviantArt.
Yeah.
That probably just has like really strange. It's like probably like Sonic and Amy drawn to look slightly like humans, like embracing, and then like the sort of pink flushes around them with like love hearts and the pink flushes on their cheeks, and they're going in to kiss each other, but they're not actually going to kiss each other. It's still PG, but there's like massive sexual undertones and overtones, and all the tones are just sexual.
Yeah.
Sonic's got a massive bulge, even though he's not got pants on.
Do not want to talk about this anymore.
Yeah.
This is crossing dangerous territory.
Yeah. That's the internet for you, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog is one of those things where it hits all corners of the internet. The good, the bad, and the very, very ugly.
Yeah.
The very ugly. Now, we know that you don't just want to play as Sonic in this game, so it's split into 3 campaigns. One where you play as Shadow, one where you play as Sonic, and one where you play as the new character, Silver. Can you guess what colour Silver is?
Is he silver?
No, he's like light grey. But he's called Silver. He's
silver.
He's basically Silver, yeah, to be honest. And Silver is the only character to really take advantage of the Havoc physics engine that I mentioned before. And that's why you see all of his levels being about him floating, making enemies float, and using telekinesis. And, titularly, not going fast. That thing that Sonic smokes over. He just runs about, and when you jump, he can like hover and move forward.
Yeah.
A bit like something from like Infamous. And then he can use telekinesis, which is basically just you grab an item and it sits in front of you and floats, and then you can fire it forward or just drop it, and you can do that with enemies and things like that. Meanwhile, Shadow has vehicles, like he did in Shadow the Hedgehog, to set him apart in a game about running fast. So you've got 3 characters, one of whom runs fast, one of whom drives cars, and one of whom has Matrix powers.
Doesn't even run at all, basically.
He just jogs. I think when he speeds up, he just like, does that anime thing where he goes on his tiptoes, but he's also like slightly floating and his hands are behind him and he moves fast. So I think he can literally move at the same speed, but he doesn't run. But I don't know why. Which, again, another problem with the game, 2/3 of it isn't about what makes Sonic Sonic. And I think you can get away with that in side games, like Shadow the Hedgehog. You might say people might not want it, but because it's not a Sonic game, it's Shadow, and Shadow's edgy. You can get away with him driving cars and shooting guns.
If it's branded as Sonic.
Yeah,
then...
but if it's Sonic the Hedgehog and then you load it up and he's like committing genocide and nuking people.
Yeah.
It's like, if one of the objectives in your missions is to either A, kill all the humans, or B, kill all the aliens, or C, just get to the end of the level. It's like, that's not Sonic, is it? But then again, Shadow gets away with that, as I said, because it's Shadow. It's not. I'm not saying it's all right. It's just because it's called Shadow the Hedgehog. It's not called Sonic the Hedgehog featuring Shadow with guns.
You can brand it differently, can't you?
It's like, it's a spin-off, basically. I'm trying to think of other things that do. Like the Star Wars episodes, which are about like Rogue One and Han Solo. They are Star Wars, but they're not claiming to be main Star Wars. They're like Star Wars with a twist.
Yeah.
Usually, like Rogue One is more like a war film.
Yeah.
And Han Solo's just about Han Solo.
Kind of a heist film, but then again, not really.
No, not really. Like Ant-Man's more of a heist film.
Yeah.
Even though that's more of a superhero film than it is a heist film. But as we get on through the development, apparently animation supervisors struggled to animate Sonic's mouth due to its placement on the side of his head. So the mouth animation of 3D Sonic games being difficult isn't actually new, because I don't know if you've seen the footage of Sonic in Sonic Adventure 1 and Sonic Adventure 2, where their mouths, and I'm just going to show you, and no one's going to hear this, or you won't even hear it, you won't even see it, but they move like this. They're like, like if you think for the listener, if you just think about contorting your mouth every which way as much as you can, sticking your tongue everywhere, that's basically what his mouth moved like. And I think in Sonic Adventure it gets a bit better. Well, Sonic Adventure 2 it gets a bit better, and then in this one it's a bit better than that. Sorry, my phone's deciding to spaz out while I'm trying to look at this. Here we go, trying to look at the script. But yeah, so they struggled with that, and it took them a very long time to get it right, and it might be the only feature they got right in the whole game.
Yeah.
Making sure that Sonic can talk, which to me is just like, well, that's not, again, really what you want to hear. Now we're getting onto some actual interesting stuff that isn't necessarily about the game. It's more about the music, because I don't know if you know, but Sonic, even though pretty much all the games are bad, usually the music and the official licensed songs are always quite good.
Yeah.
And for this one, they got the cast of the Sonic X TV show, which I remember watching when I was younger, like with my brother, but not very often. It wasn't like something I was invested in, but it was every now and again. They got them to reprise their roles as the characters. So I think that in itself is good, because, it's trying to create some common ground and make sure that people feel familiar, especially young kids who watch Sonic on TV. They hear it and they go, oh, that's Sonic. It's not, I don't know, somebody sounds completely different.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. That's trying to go for some consistency. And then they had Crush 40, right, the song for it, who's like I don't know how to explain them. I'm trying to think of the genre. Like early 2000s pop rock. They're like, they're a band and they have guitars and basses and all that, but it's very like fast paced and like, wee,
Yeah.
They're like pretty, but some of the songs for it are pretty good, actually. The song Dreams Come True, which is, I think, the main theme, or one of the main themes, was co-written by Akon. Akon, famous for... What songs is Akon famous for?
He featured in I Just Had Sex.
Yeah, with Lonely Island. I like how the first thing that came to my mind, but I didn't want to say, was also that song.
Yeah. That's the only one I know of. I know him from. Like, if I'm being honest, it's the only one.
But I can't remember which song it was, but I read somewhere that Drake actually sampled the song His World in one of his songs from one of his recent albums. Like, not recent, like the last 5 years or so. But I think that just shows that Sonic actually makes good music. But then that's where the good times end. Because the development team now came across... I would say another major problem, but I think this is the first big problem apart from the development being split, which was the Nintendo Wii, as they were given development kits for the console and very quickly realised that developing a game for the Wii would be... Now, this is something you want to hear. Virtually impossible.
Yep.
Good times.
I had a Sonic game on the Wii.
Which one was it? Was it the Sonic and the Black Knight or Sonic and the Secret Rings? It's probably one of them two.
I think it was the Secret Rings one.
Yeah,
but I'm not too sure.
That's the one.
I played it once and
it's terrible.
No surprise, it was it was so awful.
Don't you hold it forward and then tilt it left and right to move? Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, I remember someone got it for me for my birthday. I was like, I never really was a massive fan of Sonic, so I was like, oh, okay, you try and be polite, but then I played it and I was just like, what is this god awful mess, honestly.
But yeah, as I mentioned before, do you remember when I said that they split the development in two to make Sonic and the Secret Rings and Sonic 06? That's because when Nintendo gave them development kits for the Wii, Sega decided, because they couldn't make the Sonic game they were making for the Wii, the Sonic game they were making wouldn't be able to go on the Wii. Instead of just won't release it on the Wii, they went, right, half of you're working on a different Sonic game and it's for the Wii. And that's why I think, it went downhill from there, because, when you're trying to do something like that and you're trying to launch it to a certain date and then you already split the team in half to make a different game, I think it just doesn't bode well. You could say that the games might end up good, but
yeah,
I think whatever way you look at it, if midway through development you slice the team in half, that's not going to end well.
Nah, not at all.
I'm trying to think of other games where that's happened. It's probably quite a few, you'd imagine, like where for whatever reason half of them got laid off or half of them just quit.
I think laid off is although it gives different results though.
Yeah,
even then,
I suppose, because when you lay them off, it's usually for monetary reasons. But here, they were probably investing more money, because even though they took half the team off, that half of the team was just making a different game. So you would imagine it would cost more, because especially if they're two completely different games. The thing is, reading this here, apparently producer Takahashi Izuka recounts that we didn't have any time to polish Sonic 06, as we were just churning out content as quick as we could, because Sega wanted the game to be finished in time for the release of 7th generation consoles. PS3 and Xbox 360.
Yeah.
And I think the PS3, did one of them come out after? One of them came out first by about a month. I think it was the Xbox.
I thought it was the PS3.
It's one of them, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of them came out first, but basically they didn't come out that far apart from each other. So in terms of the game going gold, as they say, being finished, it had to be finished, according to Sega, in that amount of time. So imagine you're making a game, and then your director's like, yeah, let's do this. Then your director leaves to make his own company. Then the team gets split in two, and then your publishers are like, you have to get it done by this date as well. Imagine that.
Yeah.
And then they say, but we also want loads of content. So he's just running around trying to include loads of different segments, different characters, and not actually like going back and thinking about what works or how to improve it or how to make sure it's not shit. I say saying how to improve it is probably being too kind to Sonic 06, to be honest with you. Just say how to make it not crap. So as I was saying, the game was published by Sega, and a lot of the rumors going around, but it's not confirmed, is that Sega had a deal with Microsoft to ship the game before the holiday season of 2006, which sort of adds on to why they were trying to make it so quick. That's the reason Sega were telling Sonic Team they had to make it. But we don't know much about this, only that most of the promotional material for the game, when it was, being amped up, was in the West, pertained to the Xbox 360, which sort of supports those claims, I would say. But then I didn't find anything that said about whether or not in Japan and places like that, it was being promoted on the PlayStation, because Sony's a Japanese company.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they decided to promote it on the Xbox 360 because of a deal, but then I don't know if that means you would have to rush it. But I think in saying that, you would imagine that if Microsoft, especially if there's money on the line and Microsoft put money on the line, then you can't really delay the game, can you?
Yeah. You'd be in the shit.
As soon as money's on the line, it's not really going to help. And in a Kikizo interview, one of the producers said that the reason why we probably ended up with the game that we see today is a lot of reasons, but one is that we did want to launch the title around Christmas time.
Yeah.
Now, when he says we did want to, it's like, did you want to, or is that Microsoft telling you that you had to? Because I guess nobody wants to throw anybody else under the bus after the game comes out because it's terrible. You don't want to all get dragged down together, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably did want to release it around Christmas, but I think they probably would have thought, we'd rather release a good game than after release it at Christmas. Do you know?
Yeah, like maybe they were thinking, it doesn't matter what it is, it's a Sonic game, it's the 15th anniversary, it's Christmas, people are going to buy it, and eventually when they realised it was going to be shit, they were probably like, well, it's too late now, people are going to buy, if we sell it at this time, it has the most going on for it marketing-wise that it will sell.
Yeah.
Which is sad, because I think as soon as producers get money grubbing and all about marketing and making the most money, the sort of artistic vision of the product can be halted. I say artistic vision, it's Sonic 2006. It's not exactly like not neo noir. Like, it's not exactly a indie film that's going for like this great vision. It's not made by
Film Festival.
Cannes Film Festival. All of the cutscenes from Sonic 06.
No,
that makes me feel.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah. Now, so we've been talking about, we've been getting onto marketing, producing, and then things like Microsoft getting involved. But here's where things get really shady, because you'd think the fact that the game had a demo on the Xbox 360, exclusively on the 360, tying in that Microsoft giving them money and wanting them to release the game at a certain time, you would think that because it had a demo, consumers would be like, hold on, this is horrendous. This is really bad. What? No one's going to buy this. But a lot of the response to the demo was actually positive. Like, the main thing that I could find from articles of the time and videos about the demo was that there was a few camera issues. But I suppose before a game comes out, even these days, you'll hear things about camera issues and people are like, they'll probably fix it in time. Because it's the camera. It's not the hardest thing to fix. But apparently, the demo included a downward homing attack, which would allowed you to keep your speed but adjust movement, so you could like jump in the air, do the homing attack, and you'd have shifted your direction, but you'd have your speed. And then Sonic doesn't lose control also in the demo when you hit a wall, and the camera even works properly. Like, I say properly, it works better, even though it had its issues, it works better in the demo than it did in the final game. And Sonic doesn't get stuck in walls. Now, if you haven't played the game, you don't know what I mean when I say Sonic loses control when you hit a wall and you get stuck in walls. Like, what happens is, when Sonic hits things, he goes like, whoa! And he like does this weird tumble animation, and he'll hit a wall, he'll do the tumble animation, but he'll just be still facing the wall, he'll just do it into the wall, and you'll lose all your speed and you'll just be going in the wrong direction straight into a wall. Or, as it says there, you'll get stuck in a wall. Or you wouldn't get stuck in a wall, but you would in the final game. So it seems like what they've done for this demo is, they've taken a level and gone, what are the core issues with this game? And gone, right, so we need to make sure that you can keep your speed. We need to make sure that you can not get stuck in walls. And we need to make sure that when he hits things, he doesn't sort of lose all control.
Yeah.
And that's shady to me, because it means that they've known they had to fix it for the game, but instead of fixing it for the game, they took the easy way out and just fixed it for a short demo instead of putting the effort in doing it for the whole game.
Yeah.
Which is probably because they didn't have the time, but then I'm like, make the time, but then if it has to come out...
Just have the demo not be as good and release a better game.
Yeah.
Like, surely that's the one.
But I suppose maybe it's because the demo's shorter and it's easier to work on, it takes less time, and it's like, kind of like when a trailer misleads you about the film, maybe, in a bad way. Not like in a Avengers Infinity War type of way where they edit out a load of the characters in certain scenes, or put in scenes that aren't in the film, because I suppose for that they want to mislead you because they want it to be a surprise.
Yeah.
But with a video game, with films, but with video games especially, you want to see gameplay in demos and trailers, and you want to see what the game is. You want to know what you're paying for. But with films, I suppose, a lot of the time they do that thing where the trailer shows you what the film is, but it doesn't show you everything enough so that you're surprised when you go in.
Yeah.
Usually, I would say. But sometimes trailers just show you the whole plot of a film back to back.
Yeah.
But then again, film trailers these days don't have CGI just missing, not deliberately missing certain characters so as to add to the surprise. Just you go in, like you watch a trailer for an animated movie and then the last 30 seconds of the trailer is just hand-drawn animation, like pencil drawings. Like
just a storyboard filmed on an iPhone.
Like he's just waving the camera, not even holding on each storyboard picture, just waving the camera around. And there's like a guy in the background just like snoring or something, or just making loads of noise. But I suppose even though video games are slightly different, that isn't, I would say, acceptable to like mislead with the demo so poorly. Because sometimes demos can be misleading, but most of the time these days, I would say with demos, they're just like the start of the game, aren't they? And you can transfer your progress over and things like that. They're never like really, really, really bad. What the hell actually happened then? The most likely thing is that the demo and the developers were stuck for time, as we were mentioning, and the demo was made to be better than the actual game to fool people into thinking it was the game's universal quality, hoping they'd ship more copies because of the demo and the trailers and stuff, which is probably what happened, and I think that's just malpractice, isn't it? Well, in retrospect, it's malpractice. At the time, they probably thought this is the only way we're going to salvage whatever's left of this product.
Mean, it's still, if that was the intention, it's still a shitty thing to
do.
Like,
it is.
Really shitty.
Yeah, it's misleading your consumer just to make money.
Exactly.
Which is not good. And before we get onto the release and post-release, all left was for the game to come out. And it came out at the end of 2006 on the Xbox 360. And then a month later on the PS3, which I think the game either came out in November or December, so it was like start of 2007 or the very end of 2006 on PS3. So they came out basically at the same time. In terms of release, how do you think the game did, Michael?
I don't think it did well,
I've said here, the game didn't do well.
Yep.
So you were correct. It averaged around less than 50% on most of its reviews and sold around 2 million copies worldwide. And you might go, oh, when it came out, that's actually really good. No, to date.
Yeah.
Like, over 15 years, like 13 years, it's sold that many. And that's according to video game charts with a Z.com. And I had a look at that, and a lot of they seem to be a trusted source. So I would say, they're probably right. Even if it's like 3 or 4 million over its lifetime, it's not very good for a video game.
It's not great.
For a video game published by Sega,
who
used to make consoles, I think that's horrendous. and reviews comment on the game's rush state, how it barely works, and how confusing the story is. Because we've not even got into what the story is of this game. Essentially, it starts out like a normal Sonic game. Dr. Eggman's like, Sonic, I'm going to get the Chaos Emeralds and rule the bleh. And there's also a human princess that has a crush on Sonic that ends up kissing him, which is weird. No. But yeah, bit of furry action.
No thanks.
No thank you. But so there's all that, and then at some point, Silver, the guy I was telling you about, the one with the telekinetic powers that doesn't run fast, the favourite of characters, is from the future, where Sonic is apparently responsible for activating something called the Iblis trigger, which is like a giant molten demon monster that destroys the entire planet. Because that sounds like a Sonic game.
That's some Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5 stuff, that is, mate.
I know, it's not what you would think of. And it's like that, and it's a whole game with 3 different campaigns, so you can imagine how confusing the story is. I can't remember how Shadow fits into it, and I'm not... In the process of making and writing this script, I did not care about the story. I was like, it's already confusing. I don't remember that much about it. Oh yeah, and there's that Solaris who is like also apparently responsible for the Iblis trigger or whatever. I don't really know, and I don't really give a crap, to be honest. Because when you play as Silver, you start in the future, destroyed, and then I think Sonic. There's a lot of time travel as well. Sonic goes there, Shadow goes there. It's a mess.
Yeah.
It's time travel's hard to do at the best of times, but not in a Sonic game.
No.
Of all places, leave it to Back to the Future, please. It
just seems a bit of a step too far.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, you're trying to make it serious. Time travel, no. That just makes it more confusing. I did put this in, though. I found a 10 out of 10 review on, I think it was Metacritic, by a guy called Super Kurzax, and it reads, I got this game, and since I got it, I never stopped playing it. Full stop, then exclamation point. I think it is a great game. Space, full stop. It, full stop, takes a long time to beat, full stop. But it is really awesome. What? What is that review? It's a great game, but it takes a while to beat. It's great.
Do you know when it was written?
From when I looked at the thing, all of the reviews that come out were at the top. I can't remember what date it had on it, but they were all 2006.
Alright, because I was going to say it might have been a bot, because that sounds like something a bot would write, especially a really crappy one from the mid-2000s.
Yeah. Maybe it's Super Kurzax the bot. I don't know. Oh, no, I had a look at some of his other reviews, and they were quite similar to that in the sense of they were just a bit like, what on earth are you talking about? Yeah. So it might just be somebody that doesn't know how to type, or just likes really bad games, or both. Yeah. Another thing most reviews clung on to was how criminally long the load times for the game were, and you could be waiting between like 20 seconds to 30 seconds to a minute, which 20 seconds or 30 seconds might not seem that long a period of time generally, but when you think about loading screens, that's ages.
It's like Red Dead Redemption, that gets to 20, 30 seconds.
But then once that's loaded...
I can forgive that.
Once that's loaded, it hides its loading screens after that, basically. It technically loads in between cutscenes, but you could go from one end of the map to the other and nothing would change.
Exactly. Plus, the game's actually...
good.
Yeah, so...
Got him! Take that, Sonic. Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2 are better than your game.
Yeah.
Somehow, the game also received DLC, though, after it came out. Well, that's kind of what the definition of DLC, isn't it? Downloadable content wouldn't come out before the game's really. Hey, do you want to buy this downloadable content for Sonic? He's got this cool jacket.
Be a little. Well, I mean, Metal Gear Solid did it, didn't they?
Metal Gear Solid 5. You mean when they did Phantom? Not Phantom Pain. What was the one?
They had the bit before Phantom Pain. It was basically
Zeroes.
A DLC.
Oh, how ironic is that, right? Because they said, right, we can't fit the whole of this game onto one game, so we're going to give you the first bit, which I have to admit it was pretty good, but it wasn't worth full price of admission.
No, because it was like one little bit.
No, you could replay it, but yeah, it wasn't worth full price. And then they're like, we can't fit the whole game in here, so here's an extra bit. And then you go, they can't even fit the whole game into one game for whatever reason. So this is going to be amazing. And then like the last third of the story just isn't in the game. Yep. It just got cut because they didn't have enough time or money. But then they had enough time and money to make a prequel to the game.
Yeah, I know.
Which to me is just, again, it's very like fishy Konami malpractice on that side. I think the decision to make Ground Zeroes was definitely Konami and not Kojima. I couldn't imagine Kojima would have like really been behind that. I think they sort of just took him for a ride with it. But yes, the DLC for the game made the game harder, whilst others added a time attack and character switching modes. Now, why would you want a game that's barely playable to be more difficult?
Some people just like frustration.
Yeah, that much is true. I really hated this game. Makes it harder. I'll just take it. Give me that DLC. I need it in my life. It doesn't. What? Even later after this, though, there was. You know how you get Game of the Year editions?
Yeah.
There wasn't a Game of the Year edition, so don't worry. Don't worry.
Well, yeah, I mean, fair enough.
Due to the game selling 860,000 copies in 6 months, and that's according to Sega and Microsoft, the game was given the Platinum Hit status on Xbox 360. If you remember what that was, it was the one where you had the game box art was a bit smaller, and it was in like the whole box was in like a grey border.
Yeah,
and
you'd think platinum things awarded with the platinum status are reserved for things that have sold 1 million copies.
Not 860.
Because that's what it is for music a lot of the time as well.
You'd also think for platinum status, it's also just for good games.
Yeah, I know.
Got him.
Exactly.
Cop that, Sonic. No, it's one of those things where, why did they think that was a good idea? From how it wasn't just like an average game. Like if an average game sold well and you decided to do that, that's fine. But when it's really bad, I'm like, what are you boasting about?
Yeah.
That you misled consumers into buying enough copies.
And then didn't even sell that many of them.
Yeah, you sold like the bare. It's like they just got enough to get platinum. Imagine if they sold like 860,000 copies and one on Xbox, and that's why they got the one was the first platinum hits version of the game they made, and then they just sold that one version.
Exactly.
That would have been funny, but it just sounds horrendous to me. I just don't understand why they think, not that they could get away with that, why they think it's a good marketing decision.
Because they think they can cash out dead quickly.
Yeah, and just make as much money in a short time as possible,
much,
and then ignore it for the rest of time.
Yeah.
But outside of that sort of official capacity, the game did actually have a sort of long-term legacy. The Sonic the Hedgehog series clearly changed its direction after this game came out, because then you had games like Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Colors, and Sonic Generations. Sonic Unleashed being the one where you could play as the werehog.
Yeah.
Which has a day and night cycle, but it's not really a cycle. It's like you have day levels and night levels. And I think after Sonic Unleashed and Sonic Generations is apparently a really good game.
Yeah.
That's the one where you have all the different... It's Sonic's 20th anniversary, and they made a game looking back at all of his different games, and you can go through his different levels. And Sonic Colors was the one where you had all the different... I don't know what...
The LGBT version.
It kind of is, because they have all these little aliens with one eye, and they're all different colours, and they all do different things. Like one of them makes you go even faster, one of them turns into a spiky ball that can go up walls. Basically, it's their way of adding more mechanics to the Sonic games.
Yeah.
And I think it worked in that game, and I think Sonic Unleashed didn't really work. A lot of people said that the normal Sonic levels where you run fast, they were refined into such a way. Sonic Unleashed, I think, was the first one that did the thing where the camera's behind Sonic and he's running forward and you can switch lanes, sort of thing. It made it fluid, challenging and skill-based, but it also made it like you were still going really fast even if you got hit and things like that. So after Sonic 06, things seem to start to improve. Not massively. So I think the Sonic series has always been up and down. After the originals.
I've never ever seen it have any kind of like real impact.
It's not in the cultural zeitgeist as it used to be, like when it was Sonic versus Mario and they were fighting each other in the Olympic Games on the Wii. There's a new one of those coming out.
That's probably the best Sonic game.
Yeah, Sonic and Mario, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games 2020 is coming out soon.
I won't be surprised because it's in Japan, isn't it?
And they're both Japanese properties as well.
So I actually might. That seems really fun, to be fair.
I think I'll wait to see what reviews it gets, because it'll be a good party game, definitely. I feel.
Yeah, I mean, the other one is like, if I feel like it's such a classic.
Yeah, the Sonic. Was it Beijing?
Yeah.
I think we got the London one as well, but I don't think that was as good. I think the Beijing one was the best one that we played. But yeah. So that's sort of the legacy of the game, not including Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. That's the sort of legacy. I think gritty realism was dropped, and a lot of things started to get refined. You still had bad Sonic games like Sonic Boom. I was tossing up between doing Sonic Boom or Sonic 06 for this episode, actually, because Sonic Boom is equally as bad.
Yeah.
It's horrendous. And then Sonic Forces it's okay. Sonic Forces, sorry, could be worse, could be better.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones where it's like, if you like to make your own Sonic character, that's fine. But it also has 2D Sonic levels, 3D. It basically just tries to do a bit of everything, but it stretches itself so far that it doesn't do anything massively well, but it does everything decent. And if you remember last week when we were talking about Simpsons Hit and Run, we were talking about how fans have done a lot with that game. Remember the donut mod?
Yeah.
Well, fans have also taken to remaking this game so it actually works.
Fair enough.
They want a version of it that works to see if it's any good. The fan group Giztix, Gistix. So not Giztix, definitely
Nope,
not Giztix.
That's not going to be the name.
It's probably Giztix. I don't know if you can hear that. That's my...
Yeah, I think it might.
That was my...
Yeah.
I think that was... That is a watch of mine. And even when I redid this entire room, I don't know where I put the watch, and it makes that noise like once a day.
Yeah.
And I would get rid of that bit of the podcast and do something about it, but I don't even know where the watch is, so it could happen at any time in the next one. Just adds to the character of the podcast, I suppose.
Yep.
It's just a random alarm. And it's not even on the hour now, is it? So why does it go off at like 4 minutes past the hour?
Well, it's probably because it's out of syncing it or something.
Yeah, it just... I don't even know what time it is on the watch because I don't know where it is. Is it in the floorboards?
It could be.
It could be
very
anywhere.
Well could be.
It literally could be anywhere. So fans have been taken to remaking the game, and Giztix, not Jizztix, released a demo in 2017, and another fan group, Chaos X, are remaking the game under the codename Project 06. Now, the Giztix YouTube channel hasn't updated since the start of this year. Like, both of them have like YouTube channels and blogs where they'll upload videos and stuff and progress. But for one of them, we haven't heard from the beginning of this year. But Chaos X has a much more active Twitter and YouTube presence. And if you look up Chaos X's Twitter, it seems like he's like a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah.
He has like one of those pictures which is like a hand-drawn anime version of himself. And he always puts like lol in his tweets and things like that. He seems like... But to be fair to him, he's remaking a game, or he's trying to fix a game. So I had a look at it, and it seems to be going pretty well, to be honest with you. And the development of Project 06 seems to be going pretty well. So, he's getting there. But many of the fans online are clamouring for Giztix and Chaos X to work together to make... Instead of making two separate ones, much like when Sega made two separate Sonic games, they're kind of like, just work together, guys. You'll get it done quicker. You both got the same goal.
Yeah.
You can combine your sort of forces.
I can understand what people mean, but they might just have different visions.
Yeah,
they might have already talked about it,
and they might be so far along doing different things that they're like, this isn't going to work. But I think again, it's cool that people want to make Sonic 06 a good game, but I have a feeling if and when these come out at all, there'll be versions of the game that work fine, but I don't think the game will still be any good. And that's no fault of these people changing the code and trying to make it play better. I think just the core game will be the same, and I don't think people are going to be like, this is amazing, which is a shame. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Maybe I'll keep my eye on them, and maybe unless it takes them years and years, I'll keep us all updated on the progress of Sonic 06's
and then we'll play it. And then we'll compare it
to the original. Oh god. Oh my god.
That means we'll have to play the original.
That's why I'm going. I just don't want to play the original. I remember me and my brother wanted to get it when we were younger, and we did. And I've never been so let down in my entire life. It's even at the tender age of like 12, I was like, this is horrendous. I was like, this is unplayable.
12? How'd you get when you're 12?
When I was 12.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
You said when you were like 12.
Yeah, it was. I think I was about 12 when we got it. It was when I was in high school. Because I mean, we got it after it came out.
Oh, I was gonna say
it came out in 2000.
Release, lad.
No. We got it. Okay, I'll rephrase. We'd seen the game online, me and my brother, and we wanted to get it for ages. And our mum got us Sonic 06 instead of got us Sonic Unleashed instead of Sonic 06. So we played that, and that was okay. That plays better than Sonic 06, but then eventually we got Sonic 06. I can't remember how or why, and it was no good.
Yeah.
So that's the end of this episode of the podcast on Sonic 06, the terrible game that it is. I hope we've sort of enlightened people into maybe why it was terrible, how it's terrible, and just sort of, the story of sort of things that made it the way it is. Once you know the context, you might respect it. You won't respect it anymore.
Nah.
No. Nope.
Probably less. Probably less.
Probably less.
Let's
there's a lot of really
honest.
either just really bad decisions of misleading consumers or just bad publishing decisions.
Yeah.
And producer decisions, which are like, you can forgive one or two of them. You can forgive, in a way I can sort of forgive them being like, let's split the team in two and let's make a game for the Wii. But then on top of that, you'd be like, well, if they don't have this done in time, we'll delay the game.
Yeah.
But then they're also like, but Microsoft are giving us loads of money, maybe. So we'll just take that and it's very much putting money first. And it's a real shame.
Yeah.
But then again, video game.
Did we have like high expectations for it though?
No, not really.
really.
But that's the weird thing, because video game producers are one of the like most money grubbing type of people. I mean, just look at EA. A lot of them seem to just be more about getting it out, getting money, and then getting money even after the games come out. Back then, it was releasing platinum hits versions of the games, and today it's microtransactions. Video games have always been about just leeching the consumer dry. To be honest with you, as a lot of things are. But then again, with a movie, it's like you go and see the movie, and then they release it on DVD. But when you release it on DVD and you pay a price for it, there's a merit to that, because you might get bonus features. You might get it on Blu-ray, and you can just watch it whenever you want at home then.
Yeah.
It has its benefits, but with video games like that, where they just try and just take all your money off you, it's no good. But yeah, that was the awful development of Sonic 06. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and you might want to consider subscribing to the podcast on iTunes, on Podbean. I've got a SoundCloud, so if you look up Retro Release, you might find it. There's a couple of episodes on there on a little podcast highlight reel that's like 3 or 4 minutes long.
Yeah.
And some other stuff of mine, but basically it's on SoundCloud. Some of them, if you want, like the most recent ones, I think Simpsons is, and then Kingdom Hearts is maybe it's just the Simpsons one. I can't really remember. But we're on Twitter at Release Retro. I'm still clamoring to get that at Retro Release.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say
instead
last week you said you're gonna try.
I've not looked it up actually. I'll have to look it up and message the guy and try and get one. But either way, I'll have a look and I'll come back to you next week and tell you that I've done nothing with it again.
Yep.
And then we've got an email, so if you want to email us any questions, it's retroreleasepod@gmail.com. And yeah, if you want to just leave us a review, subscribe, tell us you like the podcast, tell us you could tell us you don't like it.
Reviews are very, very helpful.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Especially on iTunes and things like that.
Like, very appreciative.
Yeah, and anything that you can do. Even if you just want to email in and be like, oh, you should do this game. I like this game, and I might look it up. And
yes, suggestions are always
suggestions
welcome,
are great as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that listeners, however many of them there are at this point, or people that listen to the backlog of this at some point in the future, if you want to get involved, just get involved. I'd like to hear from people. I don't want it to literally just be me and Michael chatting in a room. It's like I want to have audience engagement on some level.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. You can just email in and tell us why you think Sonic 06 is terrible. To be honest with you, just do that. I don't mind.
If people started doing that, we could have like a listener little section where we tell people what they thought of it.
Yeah, we like the end of every episode, we just talk about why Sonic 06 is crap, and we're like, this person said it's bad because of this reason.
Exactly.
Yeah, like a little, like we relay things that we could do that. Like maybe relay things that people have said if we get like messages and stuff. But yeah, basically just keep up to date with us if you're interested in the podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next week, probably. I would hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye.